I didn't deliver. We called them up. We called them up. He didn't want it, and we didn't deliver it.
But why?
Story.
Why did you even offer it without vetting it?
Exactly. We got handed an envelope that was supposed to go to the vice president. I didn't know, so we called out the vice president. He didn't want it. We didn't deliver it. It's the end of the story, guys. This is such a non-story.
Are you going to ask who got it?
When you had received the envelope?
Pardon?
Was that the first you had heard of it when you received the envelope? And who? Do you remember who gave it to you?
It was a staff-to-staff deal. I mean, it apparently had Michigan and Wisconsin. I had no hand in any of it. Again, this lasted a couple minutes in our office, and the episode was over. Again, this is a total non-story.
Are you going to ask your aides about who this person was? Have you asked?
We did. No, literally don't. It was a staff-to-staff. Somebody from the House, some staff intern, said we got to, the vice president needs this or whatever. I wasn't involved. I don't know what they said, but somebody from the House delivered it to a staff member in my office, my chief of staff, called the vice president. Hey, we got this, and the vice president said, "Don't deliver it." We didn't.
Are you curious about the identity of this person? Are you curious about the identity of this person? Do you want to ask about it?
No, because there's no conspiracy here. This is a complete non-story, guys. Complete non-story.
But I mean, I still don't understand. If you get an envelope,
if this were a real committee, they'd be asking, why wasn't the Capitol secured? Who was in charge of that security? This is a total partisan witch hunt, and I was not involved in this at all. So I don't know why you're even asking the questions. So why don't you just leave me alone?
If the committee reaches out and they want to talk to your staff about this, would you allow them to cooperate if they wanted to know which House office asked you guys to do this?
Trust me, when this news broke, I asked the questions. Nobody knows. Again, these are interns. There's staff. Okay, we have no idea.
But it was your chief of staff who sent this information over.
No, it was my chief of staff that contacted. He just came from the White House, first day on the job. He called up somebody he knew in the vice president's staff. Hey, we got this. And the vice president said, "Don't deliver it to us," and we didn't.
I mean, and does he know who he got this from?
How much did you know about what your chief of staff was doing with the alternate slates of electors? No, you're not. I can see your phone. I can see your screen.
Can you explain what your chief of staff was doing?
Does your chief of staff still work for you, Senator?
Can you explain what happened there? Why was your chief of staff even offering this to the vice president?
That's a complete non-story. We've issued a statement, and this is a non-story. I don't know what you're even concerned about.
Well, they said that your chief of staff was saying that you wanted to provide alternate electors in Michigan and Wisconsin to Vice President Mike Pence.
This was a staff-to-staff exchange, and I was, basically unaware of it. And the chief of staff contacted the vice president's staff, said, "Do you want this?" They said no, and we didn't deliver it, and that's the end of the story.
But why was he even asking for that?
Because somebody delivered this to our office and asked to deliver that to the vice president.
Did you support his efforts to try to get those slates to the vice president?
No, I had no knowledge of this.
Who's the person?
I had no involvement in an alternate slate of electors. I had no idea this thing would be delivered to us. Got delivered staff to staff. My chief of staff did the right thing. Contacted the vice president's staff. They said didn't want it, so we didn't deliver it.
Who's the person?
That's the end of the story.
Not for nothing, but nothing makes me recognize that this is a big deal more than when a Republican senator desperately suggests that this is a total non-story. Otherwise, I guess we would just have to believe Ron Johnson, huh? Now, right off the bat, this is in reference to the video that was aired during the latest January 6th committee hearings.
A staffer for Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson texted a staffer for Vice President Pence just minutes before the beginning of the joint session. This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin. The vice president's aide unambiguously instructed them not to deliver the fake votes to the vice president.
Now, in Johnson's denial, he claims that this was all but a mere discussion between two aides and that he had zero awareness of it. But why would an aide say that, quote, Johnson needs to hand something to V. POTUS? If it didn't come from Ron Johnson, then why frame it as quite literally coming from Johnson? And if Johnson really didn't have anything to do with it, then why is this aide the one who's calling the shots between what a U.S. Senator and the Vice President of the United States do? And why would Johnson's office even humor this suggestion? Again, if what Johnson said is true, then this is a random House intern who was able to get his hands on an unconstitutional fake elector scheme document and then get a U.S. Senator's chief of staff to take it, who then nearly had it delivered by that senator to the Vice President of the United States. I'm sorry, but what? Is it that easy to get any random illegal document straight up the chain in the GOP? All it takes is one House intern to hand someone a packet and all of a sudden these idiots fall over themselves to deliver it? Is there that little scrutiny on the right? I know Johnson might take his own supporters to be fools, but does he really think the rest of us are? So look, I'm not saying that Johnson knew about it or didn't, but I am saying that the explanation as to how this packet nearly ended up in Mike Pence's hands doesn't make any sense. I get that Johnson wants to play dumb to diffuse responsibility off of himself, but believing his explanation would suggest that basically any House intern can tell a U.S. Senator in his office to jump and they'll just blindly ask how high. The more likely explanation, of course, is that Johnson and his office were not only aware of what this packet was, but responsible for pushing it. But I know acknowledging that might suggest responsibility, and I'm not sure we could ever expect a member of the party of personal responsibility to take personal responsibility. What's telling too is how Johnson tries to redirect by suggesting that the real issue here, the real question we should be asking, is why the Capitol wasn't better secured. But here's what I would follow up with. Secured from what? From Trump supporters and the Republican base? Because that's who attacked the Capitol. So it seems kind of weird that Johnson wants to know why the Capitol wasn't better prepared for an attack by Republicans, as opposed to asking for accountability from those very Republicans and the people who incited them. That's like approaching a domestic abuse victim and asking why she wasn't better prepared to defend herself from an abusive boyfriend. Why didn't she carry mace or take self-defense classes, as opposed to focusing on the actual problem, the abusive boyfriend. But I guess in this metaphor, when Ron Johnson's trying to appeal to his base of abusive boyfriends, then things start to make a little more sense. And yet that exact evasiveness and deflection is evidence of the issue at hand here. Most Republicans not only refuse to acknowledge any problem with January 6th, they're actually still endorsing and perpetuating the same lies that landed us in this position in the first place. Ron Johnson isn't interested in the Capitol being secured any more than he's interested in promoting trustworthy information on the 2020 election. Remember, when Johnson chaired the Homeland Security Committee, he used his platform to echo Trump's election fraud claims, saying, quote, lax enforcement, denying effective bipartisan observation of the complete election process, and failure to be fully transparent or conduct reasonable audits has led to heightened suspicion. In reality, the heightened suspicion was solely due to people like Ron Johnson using their positions of power and influence to repeat these claims, and then when the base believed them, they would just point to those very people who they just influenced as a validation of their very behavior. It was a vicious cycle of lies and disinformation intended solely to sow doubt in the election results. So when Ron Johnson suddenly became a central figure in this January 6th committee investigation, the only surprising part here is that it even took this long. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And to support my work beyond that, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I cover the week's most important stories and interview the biggest players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, and so many more. The link is also right here on this screen. And finally, to take action yourself and sign petitions on the most important issues, go to briantylercohen.com/petition.